Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, one of the most requested stories of the day, a YouTuber made big mainstream news, and that was Jake Paul. Jake Paul, arguably one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform right now. Daily videos that on average get 6 million plus views, 8.5 million subscribers, almost 2 million of those came from the past 30 days. And he's in the news today because there may soon be a lawsuit against him. And reportedly the reason for that is Jake Paul's neighbors are fed up with the disturbances his being there has caused. Reportedly, the community will gather with local authorities to talk about this whole situation, and there the neighbors will decide whether or not they will file a public nuisance class action lawsuit against Paul and the homeowner. Some saying part of the problem comes from Paul being fairly open about where he lives, this causing large crowds of screaming girls to just swarm this neighborhood, while others have a bigger problem of what Jake Paul himself does, that including him tearing up and down the street on his bike, or moments like this one where they decide to throw a bunch of furniture in the pool and then set it on fire. But the thing that stood out to me the most about this story was when KTLA News showed up outside of his house, Jake Paul came out, decided to climb up on the news van for some reason, then he comes down, and then this interview happens.
A lot of the neighbors are complaining. They're very upset.
No, why? Why?
They say that you've created a living hell out here, that it's like a circus.
Yeah, it is.
All the fans.
I mean, but
the
people like
stunts,
going to circuses, right?
What do you say to the neighbors, though, that are upset? Then they're really upset.
No, I honestly...
Can't beat them, join them.
No, I'm honestly, yeah, it's terrible. It's a bad situation. No, I feel bad for them, for sure. There's nothing we could do, though. The Jake Paulers are the strongest army out there. Dab. I have one question for you.
Yeah?
What are those?
Just a reminder, that is the biggest guy on YouTube right now. Just take that in. After all this happened, Jake Paul tweeted part of that video with the caption, "I'm dead, at neighbors you won't do it." And we're talking about this today because anytime a YouTuber makes mainstream news, they are seen as a representative for all of us. And I'm a little bit torn. There's part of me that sees Jake Paul and the guys like him that are coming up and I go, oh, Jesus. Young, arrogant, rich guys with unchecked egos. But then there's the other side of my brain that says, as of right now, there's no reason for them to do anything different. The reason he says neighbors you won't do it is because even if they do, what's it gonna do? It's just going to give him more content. Maybe he goes to and films the meeting. Maybe he has to film going to court. They maybe film getting kicked out of their house. Then they get a new house and they do a house tour. In the past 30 days, his channel, not even including the other channels that he's helping grow, just his main channel got 500 million views. That means even if he had just a $2 CPM, he is making minimum $1 million a month. And if he's rocking at least those $10 CPM some of the more brand-friendly channels get, he's getting maybe $5 million a month. Obviously, that's a huge range. That's speculation. It could be less, it could be more. But what we've seen from the past few months is that there's no such thing as bad press for him. Whether intentional or accidental, this is a perfect example of outrage marketing. When people talk about what he's doing being dangerous, stupid, arrogant, blah, 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 it just results in more people hearing about it. And even if only 1 out of every 10 people that find out about it this way subscribe, that's an increase. And I say this while being fully aware that by even covering this story on my show, I help feed the beast, but I don't have a grudge against Jake Paul. His success doesn't take away from mine. He is not representative of the greater of YouTube, and if you think he is, you don't understand the community. That said, I would hate to live in his neighborhood because I imagine having an asshole factory in your neighborhood lowers property value. But ultimately for me, when I look at Jake Paul, I just see a fantastic test case for outrage marketing. And on YouTube, the only people that have done it remotely as well were the fake pranksters. But a question I want to pass off to you is, what do you think here? You love him, you hate him, you care, you don't care? I want to know what you think. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, of course, the fantastic ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They put all the tickets in one place and then give a 0 to 100 score to let you know if you're getting a good deal. I've got the app on my phone and it is the easiest way to buy tickets to concerts, games, whatever. And if you make the smart move like many from the nation already have, you download the app, use coupon code PHIL for $20 off your first purchase. And the first bit of awesome is actually a congratulations to the channel Binging with Babish. They just passed 1 million subscribers. In the past 3 months, it's become one of my favorite just random cooking channels. It's hosted by Oliver Babish. He puts out a video a week. It is fantastic and I highly recommend it. And then I had to share the trailer for the movie The Disaster Artist. It's the new Seth Rogen, James Franco movie where James Franco plays Tommy Wiseau. If you don't know who Tommy Wiseau is, Google the movie The Room. I just can't wait to see what this whole movie looks like. Then with the Dude Perfect guys putting out a card-throwing trick shot video, and the Screen Junkies guys putting out an honest trailer for Memento, which by the way, I am horrified at the number of people I meet that have not watched the movie Memento. You haven't yet fixed that. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then I want to talk about a horror horrifying story and trend coming out of the UK. And that trend we're talking about today is acid attacks. Now, in the past, I've heard stories about acid attacks, but it seemed more like an outlier rather than an increasing standard. But it's such a problem that the UK Parliament is talking about how to handle this. This last week, we had food delivery drivers staging a protest over a recent acid attack. Those attacks happened last Thursday. 5 people were attacked by 2 men on mopeds. And the 2 suspects who were arrested were a 15 and 16-year-old who were using acid as their weapon for robberies. And it's just becoming more and more of an issue. In 2014, there were 166 acid attacks. In 2015, you had 261 attacks. And in 2016, we saw that jump to 454 acid attacks. So the question becomes, why are we seeing this increase? Well, you have some arguing that it's just becoming more popular, that it's for a more personal attack. You want to disfigure someone for life, that's why you have people using this. There are those cases, but there are those that are arguing that it's a much more complicated problem. First thing that comes up is access and cost to weapons. The UK has very strict gun laws, and even if you purchased a gun illegally, it would cost a lot of money. Where with acid, you could buy chemicals to make your weapon for about £1. And that incredibly cheap weapon you've just created would be very hard to trace back to you. Also, there is currently a legal benefit for people that use acid instead of other weapons. If you attack someone with a knife or another weapon, you could be charged with attempted murder. But in the UK, as of right now, acid attacks are viewed as grievous bodily harm and not attempted murder. And so that's why right now we have several British MPs pushing for change. Some, like Home Secretary Amber Rudd, arguing acid attackers must share their victims' life sentences, calling for much harsher sentencing for these acid attacks. Some MPs arguing that products with acidic substances need to have a no-cash sales policy, also arguing to put age restrictions on those products. Some MPs suggesting that acid be put on a controlled substance list, so just carrying acid would be an offense, much like if you were carrying another weapon. And ultimately, my stance on this is I 100% agree that the punishment should be far worse than it currently is. If you've ever seen the pictures of victims of acid attacks, you know that the perpetrators of those crimes have taken away any sense of a normal life from their victims. These monsters who use acid as their weapon of choice are doling out a life sentence to their victims, and they should share it as well. Also, to the recommendation of having acid on you being an offense, yes, but to the idea of putting age restrictions on buying things like drain cleaner, I personally don't think that part will have a meaningful impact. If people want these substances, they will get them. And so I think that's why the laws around the punishment need to be updated. And then let's talk about the American healthcare system. And the reason we're talking about that today is it looks like the Republican healthcare bill is dead. Late Monday night, Republican Mike Lee from Utah and Republican Jerry Moran of Kansas joined Rand Paul and Susan Collins against the repeal and replace of Obamacare. And as far as their reasoning, we had Moran saying, it fails to repeal the Affordable Care Act or address healthcare's rising costs. There are serious problems with Obamacare, and my goal remains what it has been for a long time, to repeal and replace it. And we had Mike Lee saying, in addition to not repealing all of the Obamacare taxes, it doesn't go far enough in lowering premiums for middle-class families, nor does it create enough free space from the most costly Obamacare regulations. And this resulted in Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announcing defeat, stating, regretfully, it is now apparent that the effort to repeal and immediately replace the failure of Obamacare will not be successful. But it appeared that Mitch and a good number of Republicans, including Donald Trump, had a backup plan. Donald Trump tweeting, Republicans should just repeal failing Obamacare now and work on a new healthcare plan that will start from a clean slate. Dems will join in. And then we had Mitch on the Senate floor saying this.
We will now try a different way to bring the American people relief from Obamacare. I think we owe them at least that much. In the coming days, the Senate will take up and vote on a repeal of Obamacare combined with a stable 2-year transition period as we work toward patient-centered healthcare.
So they're going to try and push through a repeal and give themselves enough time to come up with the replacement. So that's a new plan, not a repeal and a replace, a repeal, then we got 2 years, and then hopefully by then we have a replace. I imagine the idea being, well, if we do repeal it, the Democrats will have to work with us, because if they don't, and 2 years passes and a lot of people's lives are in jeopardy, people are going to blame the Democrats. But it should be noted that as of right now, this kind of looks like a Hail Mary. It doesn't look like it's actually going to go through. The first reason experts have pointed out is this is not a full repeal. Because of budget rules, it leaves in place some regulations, large portions of Obamacare, and so for a fully realized repeal, you would need 60 votes, which they're not going to get in the Senate. And that's also a note that President Trump complained about on Twitter, tweeting, with only a very small majority, the Republicans in the House and Senate need more victories next year since Dems totally obstruct. No votes. Adding, the Senate must go to a 51-vote majority instead of current 60 votes. Even parts of full repeal need 60. 8 Dems control Senate. Crazy. And here Donald Trump is correct, but also not looking at the full picture. He is correct that Democrats don't look like they're going to be working with Republicans anytime soon. In my eyes, as of right now, yes, the Democrats Democrats are obstructionists right now, much like the Republicans were for the past few years. But there are also Republicans speaking out saying they do not support just a repeal. We have the Republican senator of West Virginia, Shelley Moore Capito, saying, "My position on this issue is driven by its impact on West Virginians. With that in mind, I cannot vote to repeal Obamacare without a replacement plan that addresses my concerns and the needs of West Virginians." Adding, "We can't just hope that we will pass a replacement within the next 2 years. Repealing without a replacement would create great uncertainty for individuals who rely on the Affordable Care Act and cause further turmoil in the insurance markets." We also had Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska saying, "The Senate should take a step back and engage in a bipartisan process to address the failures of the ACA and stabilize the individual markets. I cannot vote to proceed to repeal the ACA without reform that allows people the choice they want, the affordability they need, and the quality of care they deserve." And finally, we had the Republican Senator of Maine, Susan Collins, saying, "The bill would impose fundamental sweeping changes in the Medicaid program, and those include very deep cuts. That would affect some of the most vulnerable in our society, including disabled children, poor seniors." And tweeting, "I will vote no on the motion to proceed to repeal the Affordable Care Act without a replacement. I voted against this same proposal in 2015. And so just like that, with 3 Republican senators saying no, not only does it look like the Republicans aren't going to get the 60-vote full repeal, unless everyone else is on board and one of these 3 senators just does a complete 180, it doesn't look like Republicans can even push through the 50-vote filibuster-proof version. And so this is huge news for the United States, and it's also going to be very interesting to see how this does affect the 2018 election. Will moments like this one push people in the 2018 elections to vote for more Republicans or vote for more Democrats? At that time, for Republican candidates, will it look better for them to look like they're arm in arm with Donald Trump? Will it help them gain the seats to get a 60 majority? Or will it be more damaging and we'll see a swing back to the left? This will be very interesting to see how this plays out. But with this story, I do want to pass the question off to you. What is your takeaway from this? Let me know if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, and what your takeaway is. Do you want to repeal? Are you okay with a repeal only with a 2-year window? Do you want to repeal and replace? Or do you want to keep the Affordable Care Act and just try to fix it? I'd love to know your thoughts here in those comments down below. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you like this video, you like what I do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.